Welcome to the West Alabama Works orientation video. This video is set up in two parts. First, we'll take a look at the how and the why we're set up the way that we are. The second part of the video will really take a deep dive into the programs of West Alabama Works and the different partners and how we work together with the community to really make a difference in the workforce arena. Welcome to the West Alabama Works orientation. This is a time that we really go through our program and help people understand what is it that separates West Alabama Works from other workforce systems. What is the secret sauce? How do we actually motivate individuals, our partners? How do we get the involvement of K-12 that we do, the engagement of industry? This will be a time for us to really dive into what really makes our program of work so impactful. So as we get started, one of the important parts is the state of Alabama is set up into 7 regional councils. And as you see the green area, which is Region 3, that is West Alabama Works. So when you're looking at impact, one of the things that's most important is how we are impacting individuals. How we are making a difference in the lives of families. So just starting out, this information came from the Department of Labor for the state of Alabama. And you can see that Region 3 is number 3 now in the average median wages. When we started West Alabama Works, it was dead last. So when you're talking about are we moving the needle for families and the median wage for individuals, absolutely. The other thing that's important is looking at the counties that you see there in the green area. 2 of those counties are registered as some of the poorest, poverty-stricken counties in the entire country. So when you're looking at our model, you're looking at all facets, poverty-stricken rural communities, and then metro areas with industries like Mercedes-Benz, BF Goodrich, Hunt Refining, Pfeiffer Wire, the list goes on and on. Also a college town with the University of Alabama in it, Stillman College. And so you have metro and rural combined in our region in ways that a lot of communities aren't. So we really have and the word petri dish is not good, but we really do when you're looking at test models and actually being able to focus on workforce. This is the region to look at. And so we've got every type of situation that you probably could imagine in our region. As you can see, West Alabama Works has a footprint of about 7,500 square miles. We have 9 counties that we specifically work in, but we also partner with our other regions, and we have programs in Jefferson, Shelby County, all the way down to the Mobile County line, which really is over a 10,000 square mile swath of the state of Alabama. So we're not only a lead in our region, but we also partner with our other regions to help and support them as well with our team. But many people ask us, Donnie, what do we do? How are we set up and how do you function? What does it mean, an industry-driven model of workforce development? So we have the next slide that really talks about that. And we are set up into 5 industry clusters. You have construction, healthcare, manufacturing, professional services, automotive, all of those clusters meet regularly, and we are constantly getting feedback from those industries talking about what are your needs, what are the real things that you're facing every single day. What are the key components of your industry that's keeping you up at night? And then together with our partners, how do we address those problems? But we're getting constant feedback from these clusters. And then also, if you look at our framework of how we're governed, our board of directors, you have to be a decision maker of the company to sit on our board, whether it's a small mom and pop company to Mercedes-Benz. You're either a vice president, you are a CEO, or a president of that company to sit on our board. So when we're making decisions on the direction of where we're going, it's being made by the customer of workforce development, which is those businesses. And it's not only the perspective of human resources and HR, it is a bottom line. How do we make our companies more successful, and how does workforce development play a role in that? That's really one of the things that really separates us in what an industry-driven model looks like in workforce development. It's not what just the needs are from a HR perspective, it is what is the needs and how does workforce development meet the needs of the bottom line of those companies. So that's really an overview of how those industry clusters and how our industry-driven model works. But one of the things that's very important is how do we get there? And that's through our partnerships of education, our nonprofit sector, our service providers, our K-12 system, our community colleges, our four-year institutions, all working together to actually meet the needs of the customer, who is our industries, the employer. And so that really is how we function as a family of workforce development, everybody working together to meet those common goals and really looking at high impact, the outcomes, result-based partnerships that actually move people to a qualified trained workforce. But that doesn't happen unless there's funding. So when you look at our funding source, we kind of take a model of a third, a third, a third. A third of it comes from private industry, a third from the public sector, and then a third from grants, either from state or federal grants that we actually help fund a lot of our programs. So we're constantly working to bring new dollars to our region. For example, over $9 million have been brought in new money in workforce development in the last several years. The other part is policy. What policies are we engaged in, and where are we moving the needle as a state and our federal government to actually make it easier for people to get into the workforce and also to be trained? So we're a huge advocate for that through our partners, for example, with Just Trust, the National Skills Coalition. The list goes on from federal and state agencies, Blue, Business Leaders United, where we're all working together to actually change policies and help and support our workforce needs with both our state and federal delegations. But that really is all about bringing all four of those sectors of workforce development to point to one thing, and that's creating a qualified workforce for our industries and our employers across the region and the state of Alabama. So this next slide is kind of an overview of all of our different programs that we have. You've got things from the K-12 system, from adult ed, prisoner reentry, second chance programs, our Phoenix House, which is those are in our halfway homes that are actually moving back into our workforce and into our society. So it's a whole bunch of programs, but what I want you to see more than anything is these are not just programs. So many times people focus on what they do rather than why they do it. So everything that we're doing and everything that you see on this slide really focuses on a process. How do all of these work together to meet one common goal and one common need? And that is getting people from where they are, whether it's in a program, in a prison, in school, sitting at home, not in the workforce, getting them from that point to a place where they want to be in their careers and in a great paying job. But looking at what some of our barriers are, at this point in the conversation, I want us to look at how we're using data to actually make decisions that are systemic and result-oriented. So when you look at our entire population of less than 5 million for the entire state of Alabama, we have right now 2 jobs for every 1 worker in our state. So how do we increase that? How do we focus on the right things? And then when you look at all of our programs that I just shared with you, it looks at this data. How many people are incarcerated in our prisons? How many job openings we have? But most importantly, what's going to happen in the coming years? What's the job shortage? If you look at the bottom left-hand side, you're looking at post-pandemic, probably over a 30,000 worker shortage in our region alone by 2030. And that's a huge deficit when you think about our population growth in our state. So when you're looking overall as a state, we're looking at probably 250,000 to 300,000 worker shortage. So we have got to start focusing on results. And then in the middle, which is the sweet spot of one of the big issues, is 50% of all of the skilled trades workers in America, but specifically in the state of Alabama, 50% are now at retirement age. So if you've ever had an issue with finding a plumber or electrician or a welder, you haven't seen anything yet. So that's why we're focused so much on all of our skilled trades and our career technical programs, because there is going to be a real deficit. Not being a Debbie Downer, but actually looking at data and saying, here's where we've got to really focus, and then communicating that to your leaders in the community to say, this is why this is so important. That's the other part of a successful workforce system, is communicating the real story, not the hyperbole of what everybody wants to hear, but how do you communicate the real story and the issues of workforce development? So one of the things that we focus on is the participation rate. How many individuals that are of working age are actually in the workforce? So we're tracking that in our state and particularly in our regions. And as you see in this slide, you can see the national average is on the blue line, but here's where the state of Alabama lies in that. We are below the national average when it comes to our population that actually is in the workforce. Right now it hovers around 58%. So that means that over 40% of all of our working age individuals are not in the workforce. And so what are we doing, and how are our programs focused on that? Keeping the main thing the main thing. What we don't look at and what we don't focus on is the unemployment rate. People talk about that all the time, but that is of no value when you're below 3%. You've got to begin to work on programs that get people from the non-participation rate to the participation rate. The other things is what happened with COVID. That's so important, is who came back to the workforce. So when you look at this slide, you can kind of see where we dipped in April of 2021 in 19 and 20. So now you're seeing, as we begin to follow that, we are actually seeing that most individuals in the median wage and the high wage actually return to the workforce and is doing better post-COVID. But who is not back in the workforce is those low-wage earners. You can tell that. Have you been to a drive-through restaurant or a hotel or a motel, a retail location? You can see the impacts of COVID and what took place. So we are having a huge issue with getting people back into the workforce, particularly in our service industries and things like that. So what are we doing, and what are you doing to focus on those areas of your workforce? So many times we spend the majority of our time working on the lowest percentage and the people who are already recovered when we look at recovery programs, when we're not focused on who really didn't return. And so we're not getting the results and the best bang for our buck when we're looking at our workforce dollars. Here's another thing that I think is very important. This is a national survey that actually focused on, as you're entering back into the workforce, what are you more willing to do? And you can see at the top, individuals are more interested in short-term certifications and short-term licensing than they are in 2-year and 4-year degrees. So if we're going to get people back into the workforce, is our workforce model focused on moving people back into the workforce quickly? If they do need training, doing that in a more expedited fashion. And that's what we're hearing from the worker that's wanting to get back into the workforce. So when you look at that, how many of our programs are actually focused on the key issue of getting people back into the workforce? And that's money. So if somebody is getting from the non-participation rate or coming from the non-participation rate to the participation rate, they're getting off the couch per se, and that's a bad terminology, but they're coming back to the workforce for one reason, and that's a paycheck. So how long is it taking us to get them to the goal, which is a paycheck? We're seeing from this data, they're not going to go through a 2-year associate's degree program or even a 4 to 6 month training program. It's about getting them trained, qualified, and in the workforce so that they can get a paycheck. And that's what it's all about. And that's the goal. And that's why we need to be focused on. And that's one of the reasons that we're successful in our workforce model. Now, this is very important. So this is normally what people talk about when you talk about livable wage. That's a big topic that everybody is communicating. But here's the problem with livable wage. A livable wage for who? So this slide shows how most people look at livable wage, how we grew up. two working family members and two children, the American dream, right? What we all think the family look like in America. Well, that's not what the workforce looks like. So look right here. Let's take, for example, Greene County at the bottom left hand and Tuscaloosa County at the bottom right hand. When you look at the livable wage for two working adults and two children, that's about $17.55 in Greene County and about $18.52 in Tuscaloosa County. Well, that makes sense because there's jobs out there that people can get. And if you want to have a livable wage with two working members of the family and two kids, we can find you a job usually in that area. But here's the reality of the world that we live in today. That is the next slide. The majority of people that we're putting to work, and the majority of people are one working adult with two children. Now look at the data. Greene County, you have to be making $31.34 an hour. There's not many jobs in Greene County that make that. And in Tuscaloosa, $33. So a single mom that has two children needs to be making $33 to actually not be on some kind of government subsidy. Now, here's the scary part. 34.5% of all the families, and this is why data is so important for your structure and how you're doing programs. 34.5% of families in Tuscaloosa County are single parent. How many of you in the room actually knew that almost 35% of our families are single parent? The children that you see every day in your schools, when you pass by and they're loading up on the bus, 35% of those families are single parents. Now look at Greene County, which is one of our closest rural counties. Over 60% of every child, their families in that county, 60% are single parents. What that means is the workers in that county need to be making $31.34 an hour just to make it and have a livable wage. Now, if you look at the average wage for Tuscaloosa County, it's $26.10. The average wage for Greene County is $12.83. Now, do the math, and you can see that in Greene County, 60% of the families and the average of $12.83 and the livable wage of being $31, 60% of all the families are already in a deficit before they ever get started. So that's where we've got to focus our efforts. And we call that understanding and being aware of the benefits cliffs. So the next slide really talks about all of the different things that we've got to focus on. Number one, this slide shows you, we talk to people about in workforce development. Let's take, for example, a nurse. So we have a young lady that comes to one of our outreach events. She's been working in the food industry at a Hardee's or a McDonald's, 2 part-time jobs. And she says, you know what, I really want benefits. I've got kids. And then all of a sudden we go to that person and say, hey, you could get into one of these programs in workforce development, get your CNA license, and then move to your LPN license. And then we'll help you find money for an RN degree. Well, that's great and dandy, but when you really look at what that individual is going through, what happens is they start on that trajectory and all of a sudden they hit these cliffs. Maybe it's they just lost their food subsidy or they lost their child care. And when they hit that cliff, it's the income, it's not their wage, it is their disposable income that they live on. And so when they lose their disposable income, they actually are moving backwards in their own mind. And so those are the key things that we have got to focus on. How do we keep people from a benefits cliff? How do we help them move forward? How do we bridge that gap? And so that's why one of the reasons that you might be listening to this video, or it could be one of the reasons that you're here visiting from one of the states all over the country that have been flying in to see us over the last couple of years. Here's a couple of things that we're also doing to move the needle. All of that deals with looking at the right things, developing programs that move the needle in these specific needed areas, not perceived areas. So in the last year, we have been named one of the top 10 places to work in manufacturing. So we're actually third in the nation that we've been listed this year as top manufacturing communities to live in. Also, Alabama was ranked number one in South Central America to regional workforce or the workforce models. So ranked number one there. And then also we ranked fourth as places to live in Metro, as best places in manufacturing. So we've gotten a lot of national accolades in the recent years, and a lot of that has to do with the work that we've done in workforce development. So how does all of that work? How do we move the needle? How do we get things done? And how do we get everybody engaged and involved? Well, it all starts with pathways. And so we'll take a minute and we'll begin to talk about what does career pathways look like. So the best way to do that is probably to share a video with you that our great friends at Seed Creative put together for us that really kind of shows our overall strategy of workforce development when it comes to K-12.
How do you measure success? A strong education, a well-paying job, contributing to your community. At West Alabama Works, we're teaming up with area schools, employers, and community providers to prepare our students for success. We're building West Alabama's future today through strategic career pathways. As early as pre-K, students begin developing essential skills such as introducing themselves and making eye contact, traits they'll continue to use throughout their lives. At 4 years old, they are laying the foundation for a successful career path. Students continue to learn work-ready skills throughout elementary school, such as financial literacy in the 3rd grade, a crucial life skill. This foundation continues to grow as they travel from grade to grade. In the 8th grade, West Alabama students participate in the hands-on Worlds of Work Career Expo, opening doors to some of the highest paying and most in-demand career opportunities in our region. After experiencing WOW, students can further engage their interests through Career Technical Education, or CTE. CTE courses are available in every school system in West Alabama, teaching students competitive work-ready skills before leaving high school, moving them another step closer to a better and brighter future. The pathway continues as high school seniors attend WOW 2.0, a continuation of the Worlds of Work Career Expo they attended in middle school. Here, employers interview and hire these work-ready candidates for challenging jobs in West Alabama. There are different pathways that lead to career success. For some students, that pathway includes a college degree after high school. Others choose a high-paying, fulfilling career through a pathway to employment or an apprenticeship after graduation. This doesn't mean that learning stops after graduation. Many employers pay for continuing education through credentials and degree programs. Join our vision at West Alabama Works as we change the face of career readiness. Let's help our children discover exciting career opportunities right outside their back doors. In doing so, we're building a stronger community and a brighter future for generations to come. To learn more about career technical education, career pathways, and apprenticeships, visit www.westalabamaworks.com.
So as you saw in the video, that is our overall kind of how we work. And it's about taking kids from pre-K all the way up to graduation, Our goal is to make sure that every student walks across our stage in all 12 of our school systems across that 7,500 square mile radius, that every student walks across that stage with a plan, either a plan for college, plan for military, or a career pathway directly into the workforce, so that every student walks across that stage knowing what their next step will actually be. We hope you will continue to watch part 2, that we really take a deep dive into our different programs. But if you want additional information, please make sure that you reach out to us at 205-758-7588 or visit us at our website at westalabamaworks.com. One of our big signature events is the Worlds of Work. People ask me all the time, Donnie, can you explain what Worlds of Work is? And I tell them this: it's the Disney World of workforce development. It is made to wow kids, just like when you walk into the Magic Kingdom and you begin to look up and see all the incredible things that you've always thought about and seen on TV. This is what this is all about. It is wowing the kids, and that's why it's called WOW Worlds of Work. And so as you look at that, you can see just some of the statistics. That's not as important of how many kids actually attend. The real number is down at the bottom, 100% participation. Every one of our school systems see that this is so important that they engage their entire student body in that grade level in the Worlds of Work. So we have buses coming from all over the region. Employers are invested in this, millions of dollars. When you look at the payroll of what it takes to run Worlds of Work, it is absolutely staggering to look at the numbers. We're talking about millions of dollars every single year in payroll and in all the supplies and equipment. Over $40 million worth of equipment is brought in. We shut down the community college campus for 3 days. That cost the college over $200,000 a day in just operational cost. Our community is completely bought in when it comes to investing in our students and helping them understand all of the fantastic opportunities that they have in the state of Alabama and particularly in our region. All of our jobs at this event are jobs that they can get right here at home. And that's what we want them to see. Most students have no idea. When you look at national statistics and they ask 8th graders, what do you want to be when you grow up? And people keep coming back to us and saying, well, manufacturing is not moving the needle whatsoever because kids aren't interested in it. Well, the reason is they have no idea what it is. And think about it. Most national statistics say that students are more interested in teaching, public safety, social work, healthcare, and of course, gaming. But when you look at those other 4 areas, what are 4 of the biggest areas that we can't find workers in? Healthcare, education. So there is a correlation of what kids have experienced because they've all been at a hospital. A lot of them have dealt with social workers. They've all dealt with public safety, and they only are interested in what they've seen. So that's why Worlds of Work is so important, because kids can actually see, taste, touch what all of these jobs actually entail and what they look like. So next we want to show a video of what WOW is really all about from a student's perspective, from an industry's perspective, and really see the buy-in of what's going on and the magnitude of what the capabilities that this type of program could have in your community. And that's what it's all about, is how can we do something extraordinary? And I want to take just a minute and say this to you. We have got to begin to wow kids. We can't halfway do these types of programs. It has got to be done in a way of excellence. Our programs have got to be done in a way that people see that we're putting our whole heart into it. Because if we want people to be motivated, we have to be motivators. So that's one of the things that's so important about these programs is our team is passionate. our volunteers are passionate. They believe in what they're doing. They understand the why, not just the what. And because of understanding the why we're doing it, they actually do encourage as they're speaking to the kids. They actually show enthusiasm, because who wants to work at a dried up, old, dilapidated, energyless organization? They're all competing against each other. So we make this fun. We have trophies. We have big competitions between the worlds. So this is really all about getting people engaged and involved, not only the students, but also the industries as well.
Hey, this is Will coming at you. We're going to the World of Works.
All right, you guys, so we're here at WOW, and we're really excited to go. Are you excited?
Yeah.
Hey, we're at WOW! We're so excited!
We're here at WOW. We just got here, so I'm ready to have fun and see what's what. Here's the World of Works. They have a whole bunch of doctor stuff and a whole bunch of everything in that field, and that's what I'm looking forward to and looking forward to being in when I grow up. I want to be a doctor.
Doctor? Nice.
So I got to have a lot of hands-on experiences, and it showed me what I would be doing if I actually did this in the future.
So we're going to the operating room. We're really excited.
I want to be in healthcare when I grow up. This is really interesting to me to think that maybe one day I can do something like this. I'm really interested in aerospace, so we're going to go there and we'll report back.
We just finished the manufacturing station. It was really fun.
So we are headed to Zone 3, which is pretty much agriculture, public safety, and transportation. We're going to go through here and see everything that this place has to offer.
I'm over here at the law enforcement and first responder section. My father is one as well, and it's really cool to see and have a more in-depth look of what he does, and to see if I would like this more than being a doctor, or is this just something else cool to do.
They have baby goats. Therefore, that is where we're going, and I'm so excited because they're baby goats. And so cute. That's amazing.
Really enjoyed today's experience. It was really fun, and I would totally recommend it for other people. It gave me many options, and it helped me experience different jobs.
Today we're on our way from WOW, and I feel like I have a lot more choices now than what I did, and it was a great experience and a really fun time.
We just finished WOW, and it was absolutely incredible. It was awesome. There were so many different careers, and I can't wait to come again to WOW 2.0 when I get in high school. And I can't wait to see what the future holds. All right, bye.
So the next thing is, as one of the things that we do, is really focus on what's the next step? How do you actually connect students? So getting them involved in programs, CTE programs, but what is the end result? It's about getting them into jobs. And that really comes to our WOW 2.0 event. Showing students not only that we've been talking about these, but how do you connect students to those jobs? So WOW 2.0 is really focused on one key area, is connecting kids in the 11th and 12th grade to apprenticeships and jobs. Once again, when they walk across that stage, where are you going to go? And a lot of our students are going directly into the workforce. So this event really connects them with the jobs that they can get as they graduate. A lot of them have come through CTE programs, and they have credentials and skilled trades training. And so they're going to go directly into those skilled trade jobs. Some of them will go into apprenticeships where they'll go to our 2-year institutions or 4-year, and then as they're working with those companies. So it's about the the connectivity, and this event really showcases that and brings students together at the end of their journey. Those kids are, as you can see in these pictures, it's about opportunities. And as you can see, many of these students, like this young guy that's smiling up on the top left, has 6 job offers. Now think about that. A young student graduating high school that wants to go directly into the workforce before he ever walks across the stage has 6 job offers from high-paying companies. This isn't your part-time job. These are all industry jobs or high-paying, high-demand jobs that are being offered to these students. What a great opportunity. But how do we celebrate that? One of our signature events is one of my favorite, and our staff's favorite is our regional signing day. You know, a lot of times people will have a big celebration for kids in their school systems that get scholarships, or the football scholarship. There'll be a table and they'll wear the hat of that organization. But what does that really look like for all of our other students? Are we celebrating education as a whole? Usually not. We do in our region. What we want to do is celebrate the kids who are going directly into the workforce or apprenticeships. So we have a big signing day at the end of the year for all of those students and their families, where they come together and celebrate the fact that they are successful. The success of education is not how many kids go to college. Success in education are how many of your students actually are successful in their careers. There's a whole lot of people with 4-year degrees that are sitting in their mom's basement and living on the couch of a friend, who basically are paying their student debt off, but yet aren't really fulfilled and successful. This is about kids and helping them be successful in their life. And that's what we're celebrating with our regional signing day. It also brings a lot of notoriety and marketing and communication regarding career pathways. And so we want to show you a video on this and let you kind of see what our regional signing day and our WOW 2.0 event is really all about. So over the last several months, our team has been working with industry to develop this program called WOW 2.0, and a partnership with our K-12 system and our community college systems, where all the students are able to come. They're interviewing with the companies. Those companies then give the students a contingent job offer. Through that contingent job offer, then they continue to connect until the student actually graduates from high school, receiving a full-time job with great benefits.
My experience today at WOW 2.0 was very amazing. I really recommend that every student should come out here and really get like a good experience. It's a great experience, and I really love like how they have a good conversation with you. You can have good talks, and I actually have a lot of job offers.
We're WOW 2.0. Good job offers.
We're here tonight to celebrate all of the students that got jobs either through WOW 2.0 or through our career technical education programs or our apprenticeship programs. So that's really the connecting points from WOW all the way down into the 8th grade, all the way to WOW 2.0, and now it's signing day, and how all of that works in a process to really help develop the workforce of tomorrow.
Good evening and welcome to the West Alabama Regional Signing Day, honoring career technical education, apprenticeships, and students entering the workforce.
Well, tonight was the culmination of all of our work in K-12. Students are actually graduating from high school and are going directly into full-time jobs, making great pay with great benefits.
Students from our city schools, county schools, and surrounding schools are signing on with these incredible employers here in our area. This is a big day. This is a great day. Our students are signing to go into apprenticeships or right to work. It's a really great day in West Alabama.
West Alabama Works is amazing, and they do a great job helping our students find the next step in their journey after high school. And it's just very, very exciting that they have jobs already lined up. So when they walk across the stage at their high school graduations, they can know what their next step is.
It's a program that starts, I think, at the right time. It's focused on their development, their opportunity for success. And then an event like tonight, honestly, is a culmination of all that effort of West Alabama Works and the actual future employees as well. We have Rylan joining our family in B.F. Goodrich, and we're excited about that.
I just graduated from Tuscaloosa County High, and I signed with B.F. Goodrich to be a forklift operator, and I'm very excited to get started.
I don't graduate yet, but I'm excited because I already applied for the Local 372, get a scholarship.
It's a blessing to be able to do what I do. My daughter came into my life 8 months ago. She's what's motivated me to do everything that I'm doing now. That's where my pride and joy comes from.
I signed with Mercedes today for the Modern Manufacturing Apprenticeship, and we learned from it to be successful in a company when we graduate to take on a job. It makes me feel proud of myself because I come up from a base to have an idea of what I want to do when I get older.
For them to be able to use what they've learned in the real world when they graduate to make a really good wage and to have a good life right here in Tuscaloosa, it's just a really exciting thing for us, and we are thrilled to be here to help celebrate.
West Alabama Works, I want to say thank you for all their hard work and dedication for having this vision to honor and celebrate our students.
West Alabama Works has done an awesome job with going out to the high schools and actually being like a recruiting arm for us too, to really expose and to help these students, show them a pathway to get to our plant.
That's really what we're doing here at West Alabama Works, is helping bring hope to a community, bringing hope to our schools and to our students, and letting parents see how much the community loves their kids. In a couple of days, they're going to walk across that stage, get their diploma, and when they cross that stage, they're going to know that I have a job and I have a future. There are different pathways, there are different programs that all of our students can participate and be very successful. So you've seen two of our big signature events, really three, our WOW event, our WOW 2.0, and our regional signing day. But what else is taking place? So during COVID, one of the things that we weren't able to do is go out and do these big hands-on events. So one thing our team worked together with some great creative folks is to create a virtual worlds of work gaming system. So two things that kids love is games, and the other thing is YouTube. So what we did was we combined the two and created a video-driven gaming system that our schools can use, and our students are participating in that every single day. They're actually using this, thousands of students. Matter of fact, our team is out this week in our 9th grade classrooms actually doing virtual reality and actually allowing the kids to use the virtual worlds of work gaming system. So a lot of things are coming together so that it is not an event, it is a process. So all throughout the year, all of our grades can actually use the gaming system and use that to actually in the classrooms. They can use that to help students understand, why am I doing geometry? Well, let me show you a couple of videos on construction and why that's so important. So it's really creating a relative connection between education and the workforce and the jobs. The other thing that I mentioned just a minute ago was our virtual reality. So we partnered with Transfer VR to bring virtual reality training into the classrooms. We're using virtual reality to help us with key things like in our modern manufacturing courses and other classes like pipe fitting our career technical programs, but most importantly, we're using it for career exploration and actually inviting kids to immerse themselves into this world of virtual reality and see all of the jobs that we have in our region that they can participate on. If you think about it, or participate in, if you think about it, it's worlds of work in a virtual reality setting. So not only do they experience this big event, this wow event where they touch it, smell it, taste it, and experience it, they're experiencing in a world that they love, which is virtual reality within the Oculus headsets. So a lot of really cool things are happening, but we're integrating not only how we communicate, but actually how the kids listen. And so we're meeting all of those types of sensory perspectives in the way that we're showing and helping them experience what opportunities are out there for them. So this slide really shows the impact of how many schools that we're participating with, and then how many students are actually being engaged and involved with our team regarding virtual reality and those experience days that we're doing in the high schools. So one of the other things that we use is kids today are all about those phones, and it's about texting. It's about learning from YouTubes. And so how do we connect that way? So one of the other things that we use is our text training platform. So for example, that you see on this slide is if a student says, hey, I'm interested in healthcare, and they're in a healthcare class, or they're thinking about taking a healthcare class, or they're at an event, or if an adult is at one of our outreach events and says, I'm kind of interested in healthcare or manufacturing or what have you, this is an example of how we use our texting systems and those phones. Because guess what? There are a lot of rural areas in Alabama that doesn't have high-speed internet, but they do have cell service, and people do text and they use their phones in this manner. So why not connect to them in that way? So we also use our text platform. So you put in your cell phone number, you actually put in your information, and boom, every day it's almost like, I tell people, it's kind of like a daily devotion if you've ever used one of those apps. So every day you'll get a quick tidbit of information for 5 to 10 days on that career pathway. So this one is day one in healthcare, and then you can click on that link on the bottom, and it's a little video that we put together about the healthcare industry and the jobs that we have. So once again, combining video with training opportunities. And then the next day, it begins to talk about what jobs in healthcare are right for me. There's two different ways of looking at healthcare. One is patient care, and the other is the fact that they're a whole city in and of itself. So there's all types of non-patient types of jobs. Many people don't realize that. So then depending on how you actually answer that question, it goes to the next day. It might be 4 more days of patient care type of information, or it might be all the different jobs that are out there that aren't tied to patient care. So it's all about meeting the needs of people where they are and communicating with them in the way that they communicate best. And there's not one way. And I hope you hear that from us, is there's more and more ways to communicate, and you've got to make sure you're hitting all of those perspectives, whether it's social media, whether it's texting, whether it's email, whether it's websites, or whether it's in person. Those are the kind of things you've got to be hitting all of those different factors, because we don't have the numbers of workers that we had many years ago. So we have to be very agile and very comprehensive when it comes to communicating, not only to students, but the workforce as a whole. So the other thing that we look at and we evaluate is we use YouScience. So many times people will base their decisions, their programs on student interest surveys. And as we talked about a few minutes ago, why are we doing that? Number one, students don't really understand what opportunities are out there. And so we're letting 8th graders and 9th graders dictate the decisions of education and what the needs are based on a 13 or 14-year-old's experience in life. So we don't look at that. We look at, a lot like the military with the ASVAB test, we use YouScience to look at a student's aptitude. What are their aptitudes towards these different industries, and then market to those students. Here's an example in our state. We have a lot of technology jobs, manufacturing, construction, and healthcare jobs. When you look at the data, there's only a 52% interest of our students that have taken the UScience test. Only 52% are interested in the main jobs that we have in our state. Number one, that should scare us all. But look at the number that should be of encouragement. 81% of the males have the aptitude for the main jobs that we have, and 78% of the females. But look at the interest. Only 22% of females are interested in the major jobs that we have in our state of Alabama. And we talk about why there's a deficit of females in our workforce, and that could be it. But now look at the fact that we can actually get them more engaged and involved because they do have the aptitude to be very successful. Here's another conversation that we have is minority and diversity. Well, look right here. When you look at the data, high interest, only 31% of African American Black students are interested in the jobs that we have in the state of Alabama, but over 78% have the aptitude. So what are we focusing on? Interest, or really do they have the ability to do it? And are we marketing those jobs to the students? That's exactly what we do at West Alabama Works. We look at students' aptitude and then begin to market to them and their families using direct marketing pieces through email and social media to their parents. So really looking at what's the data that we're looking at, and is it relevant to getting the results and the outcomes that we need? So that's one way that we use that. And then how do we actually move from all of this data, all of these philosophical type programs of getting kids interested in jobs and moving the needle, to actually how are we involved and engaged in developing exciting, game-changing curriculum in our school systems? And so what we'll talk about next is our Modern Manufacturing program, which really focuses on, once again, meeting the needs of our industry. So, for example, here's another key point, is when most of us get in a room with our industries, the conversation for some reason always points to a high-skilled trade, whether it's industrial maintenance, whether it's industrial welding, whether it's auto tech. It's all high skill, high demand. We call it high demand. But now let's ask a real question that we ask our employers. What shuts your line down daily? And the answer doesn't come back to us and says, well, it's because we don't have an industrial maintenance team that's strong enough, or we don't have enough auto tech employees. What shuts down lines every single day is logistics and production and assembly. And when you look at that, and then we focus and say, well, what programs do we have that targets that audience? In our state, it was zero when it came to the automotive industry. Yeah, we have all of the skilled trades, but we didn't have programs for what actually shuts their plants and keeps most of the leaders up at night. So we looked and we said, how do we develop a program that actually is impactful to that area? And guess what? Modern Manufacturing came out.
You want to make something of yourself. You want to be a part of something incredible and make a difference. You want to do the work that even you can be proud of and enjoy the place you call home. Prepare for the career and lifestyle you want with West Alabama Works Modern Manufacturing Education Program. Modern Manufacturing is a hands-on career readiness program where you can learn the exact skills you'll need for employment in today's manufacturing industry.
Modern manufacturing, it's a growing industry right now. It's booming. There's always different corporations, different suppliers being added out there, and it's just growing every day.
When you begin, you'll take an assessment to determine your skills, learning styles, interests, and aptitudes. From there, the Workforce Essentials course will introduce you to different jobs, tools, and manufacturing opportunities in which you might be interested.
I love these classes. They've allowed me to meet great people, get good job opportunities in high school, but it also allows me to get a step ahead for when I do graduate high school and start at a higher wage than the normal. It helps you with more than just getting a job. It can help you with your manners, interviews, how to talk to people.
I've had to use a lot of problem solving, communication, basic soft skills that we learned. A lot of times we'd be driving the forklift It got every person involved.
You'll learn in the same environments in which you'll one day work, making for the perfect bridge to employment. You'll even get to work on actual vehicles in the program. Mercedes GLE SUVs are placed in each participating school.
Mercedes, they are built extremely well, and we got to see that there are no corners cut, and it gives you just a really good opportunity to do a lot of problem solving, especially putting it back together. We had stuff straight from one end to the shop to the other.
Modern manufacturing also takes advantage of the state-of-the-art education techniques, such as virtual reality technology, to streamline the learning process. And because the program is industry-led, you'll know the exact expectations of your employers once you graduate. You'll finish the program with 5 to 7 stackable credentials, a possible AAS degree in modern manufacturing, a potential apprenticeship, and you can start out making upwards of $40,000 a year.
If you want to be secure, if you want to be able to be important to a company and make yourself valuable, then these programs are great for that.
We learned a ton of things that I apply now in the classroom while I'm at Shelton, and then I also put to use while I'm at work.
Modern manufacturing is recognized by major companies in the manufacturing industry. It has official endorsements from Honda, Hyundai, Mazda, Toyota, Mercedes-Benz, and their suppliers. Mercedes has even announced that they'll launch 60 apprenticeships for students in the modern manufacturing program.
I'm going through this program now with Mercedes paying for my college, paying me to work, and I'm going to get a guaranteed job at the end of this that's going to be paying me extremely well.
And when you graduate from the program, you can immediately begin your career and start working in West Alabama. So don't delay. Ensure your tomorrow by learning about modern manufacturing today. For more information, visit our website or give us a call.
So as you see, I mean, it is an exciting video with a lot of energy, but that program has that same energy. Our instructors are really engaged, and it's really looking at education from a totally different perspective. You know, when we started this out, it's kind of like what I said. It was really focused on assembly and production, but what has come out of this is really incredible because the top students actually are going into the apprenticeship programs that were meeting the other needs of industrial maintenance, mechatronics, and things like that. So if you build a program that hits the missing middle of those jobs and develop programs for that, what we're finding is that you're actually hitting and exponentially impacting those higher demand or higher wage, higher training jobs, which is the skilled trades like industrial maintenance, auto tech, industrial welding, those types of things, cell ops, and the list goes on and on. And then also the kids that aren't excelling in the top of the class or even the missing middle is those students have a great opportunity in logistics and things like that. So it's really engaging students that have never been engaged in our career technical programs, and they have been kids that have kind of floundered after they have graduated. So it's really making a huge impact. So because of this program, the state looked at it, and our 5 OEMs, Mazda, Toyota, Honda, Hyundai, Toyota engines actually came together and said, we need this across the state. So West Alabama Works is actually overseeing the launch of 24 high schools across the state of Alabama and managing it within our team. Training the teachers, developing a stronger curriculum, actually motivating and engaging the industries, really using those in partnership with all of our regional workforce councils in those areas. New staff has been put in every regional workforce council that concentrates completely and totally on developing these modern manufacturing programs in their regions to actually support manufacturing. This is just another example of what happens when industry drives, but then what industry helps create, they also support. So every single one of our community programs that we're putting in there in modern manufacturing in our school systems, industry is completely and totally engaged, and they're hiring the kids. So even in our first couple of years of launch, there's over close to 500 kids in our region alone, close to 600 in the entire state that's involved, over 175 apprentices. So a lot of engagement. And most importantly, industry now is saying, how do I get these students? How do I recruit them? And so they're opening up their jobs to 16 and 17-year-olds with youth apprenticeships. So it's amazing what is happening. And we could spend all day talking about just modern manufacturing and its impact. But really, we want to move on to some of our other programs and talk about, what we're doing there. And that is our apprenticeship programs overall. You can kind of see all of the different major industries that we actually have apprenticeships with here on this slide, how we're using that to actually move young people from the career pathway idea to actually jobs into those companies, and apprenticeships is one of the ways that we do that. We have apprenticeships, externships, we have work-based learning opportunities, all of those, and braiding those resources from our WIOA Workforce Board to our education partners to our scholarship programs with our industries. There's not a child in our region that if they wanted a college degree or some type of technical training program could not get that program paid for by one of our programs. Our apprenticeship programs, once again, this slide shows one of our national models of apprenticeship, which is our mechatronics program, and our auto tech programs, which is a partnership with Mercedes-Benz. And of course, with the new electric vehicles, that's even more important of how we stay in front of all of the new technologies and actually help our education partners and our delivery partners stay on top of what is the latest and the newest technologies that need to be taught in these classrooms. So people ask us all the time, how in the world do you get the education system so engaged in all of these different programs? Why are they willing to open up their schools, bring all of their students, focus time, and why are so many educators at all of your workforce meetings? It's simple. They understand the language. What we have learned is, for years we've talked about this, but education speaks Greek and business speaks Hebrew, and nobody communicates, and they just don't understand each other. And for so long, education and the communities and industry have just been pointing the fingers at each other, saying either you're not engaged in what we're doing or you're not educating our kids at the level that we need. It's just this circular firing squad that's always happened. And so what we said is, how do we change the idea of the communication process of education and in industry? And also, how does it actually relate to change and making a difference? And what we did was we took an ideology of a top-down approach. Yes, we still do counselor tours. We do career coaching, training, and all of that. But yet those counselors would come back to the schools. They would come back excited and fired up after going through a tour of the industry and saying, hey, we can do this. We've got to help our students. And then, of course, the leaders would go, now, wait a minute. We've got to test our students. We've got to make sure that all of the things that are coming from the State Department are done. We've got all of these security issues, all of these medication issues, all of these testing programs. Everything goes on, and what happens is nothing ever changes. And so what we said was, we've got to start a top-down approach where our leaders actually understand what we're doing. And it's part of a philosophy of education, not just a program. And so we created the Educator Workforce Academy to bridge that gap. And so this video will kind of share with you the overall concept of that. But the real story is, we have to get engaged, and we have to spend time with our educators, and we have to help them understand. And you will never be able to move the needle as fast as you could unless you're able to really help them understand what the needs are out there. So this is a video on that to help you understand what the Educator Workforce Academy really is. The Educator Workforce Academy was created by West Alabama Works and the steering committee to really help bridge the gap between education and our industries, what their needs are for the workforce of the future, and to help bridge the partnership between education and workforce development.
Our job as educators is to make sure our students are prepared for what's after high school. And while we know how to prepare our students academically, we don't necessarily know how to prepare them for all these different careers that are in our area and that our students are interested in. So the Academy allowed us to get experiences in business and industry so that we're more in tune with what our students need when they graduate, those things that they need to be successful in and the ways they can be successful in their careers.
you're going to actually be able to go into Mercedes, go into Maccabee Construction, Nucor Steel, and see and speak with the workers there and with the management there.
Understanding what the workforce is in this area is important for me as an educator to help our students. As a middle school principal, I now know what to do to send them to the next level.
As you can imagine, over time, the workforce has become critical, and a lot of times I think some of our educators have kind of lost sight of where we were with that. There's a great need for them understanding the need for workforce.
I think as educators, we're the first line for kids and guiding them to what they want to do in life.
We always focus on academics as our primary objective, but students need more than that to become great citizens.
That's our job as educators, is to make sure our students leave us and that they're highly prepared. For business and industry leaders to connect with educators to do that work together, that's when we become really powerful in this.
It's a wonderful opportunity to get out and see what jobs are available, what business and industry is looking for, and how we can better educate those students and prepare them while they're with us at the high school level to go out and be productive citizens and join the workforce.
The takeaway for me is that I grew as an educator.
It allowed me to open my eyes to different opportunities out there for our students. I never realized that there were so many different types of programs out there, so many job opportunities.
If we prepare them for the jobs that are in our area, that not only when they get the job, but then they're highly successful at that job, then they stay in this area and they can continue to contribute to our community.
As you saw in the video, it's really about a top-down approach. So you have to be a superintendent, a principal, a key decision maker in the school system. Those top leaders go through the academy first. And so we have graduated over 250 of our top education leaders in our region through this one-year program that focuses on understanding all the workforce needs in our region. So that's a real game changer for us. And that's how we get a lot of these programs done, because everybody at the table understands that we're all rowing the boat in the same direction and we're all trying to get to the same point, is helping our students become very successful by meeting the needs, once again, of the customer of workforce and education, which is the employer. So that is probably one of the biggest game changers and signature events that probably is moving the needle more than anything in our K-12 program of work. So in this slide, you see one of the things that's very important is at the end of every single session, we ask two basic questions. What did you learn and what are you going to do about it? We are trying to teach our educators two principles. One of them is results. And it's not about just seeing and seeing that there is a need, but how can you relate that to actually the classroom? So this slide really shows ideas over the years that educators have had of how do I actually impact students in the classroom from what I've seen through the academy, and we're getting great results. The other thing that they have to do is come up with a plan. This slide shows the plan for our Tuscaloosa City School Systems that actually looks at what our plan of workforce development is from pre-K all the way to graduation. And you can see how workforce development programs are integrated into every single grade into that school system. So for you to graduate as a superintendent, you have to have a complete plan like this built out for your school system. And then we follow up with those leaders, whether it's in your school, whether it's in your classroom, your area of work, or the entire school system, to see what the progress of that plan is. So it's not just about things that we do, but it's about the impact that's being made. So one of the other things that we look at is if we're going to get people back into the workforce, one of the best things to do is let's keep them in the workforce. So we created this year Ignite, which is our student employment program. Ignite really stands for some of those key things that employers are looking for: integrity, gratitude, never giving up, initiative, timeliness, showing up on time, staying the whole time, and enthusiasm, being excited about going to work and being excited about the company that you work for. And so if we can instill that in our students, then we are going to help them be very successful adults. So we've created this program, and it's a website that students can actually go to, that it helps them place the students in summer jobs, after-school jobs, co-op jobs, and apprenticeships. We have a full-time staff member that actually helps and works right in this area to actually develop students and help them be very successful as apprenticeships, pre-apprenticeships, and part-time workers. And so therefore, then they relate that and what they've learned into their career pathways. So once again, keeping people from getting out of the workforce and keeping them in the workforce, one of the best steps to do that is get them engaged in employment. Alabama has one of the highest youth unemployments. So the majority of our youth are not working. And so if we can get them into the workforce, it's going to help the overall workforce for the next 5, 10, 15, 20, and beyond years. So this is an example of our pilot that we launched this summer. We had over 564 students in our pilot program that applied for over 1,200 jobs. So it really helps the students connect to those jobs, and it actually helps them with coaching from soft skills to interview skills, and the list goes on and on. So we've talked a lot about our pathway process and our school systems, what we do with our students, but probably what we're most well known for is how do we engage the workforce currently into all of our different programs? And the first slide really talks about where, the heart of the matter is our community outreach, going out into those communities, actually connecting with individuals. For so long, we have had career centers all over our state and our region. We've got 3 in our region, and we expect people to come to us. Well, number one, we know that 3 main issues in workforce development is childcare, workforce transportation, and affordable workforce housing, which means that people aren't close to where the jobs are. But yet we have the same mentality of, well, if those are barriers, we're going to require you to come to us. And so that's a recipe for failure. And that's why so many of our career centers across our country are not producing the numbers that they once did. It's not just COVID, it's actually recognizing the fact that these are barriers. And if we're going to get people back into the workforce, we have to go to them. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, Donnie, how far will people drive for good quality training? And I said, the answer to that is the same distance that they will drive for a good quality meal for the grocery store. If they won't drive past 10 to 15 minutes to go grocery shopping, they're not going to go past that for your training and your workforce models. And if you think of it from that perspective, that means that we need to be going into the highways and byways of our regions, our rural communities, of our inner cities, and actually going to where those individuals are. So that's what we do, is we go into our communities, we actually connect with people. Not only do we do that physically, but we do that using technology, and we do virtual hiring events, we do regional hiring events, we do community hiring events. So it's about going to where people are. And as you can see in this slide, in 2022, we've been in every single county in our region doing these small events, whether it's an IGA on a Saturday morning, if it's something in the afternoon, wherever people are and the times that people come out and are able to participate, that's when we do it. Not what's convenient to us, but what is convenient to them, because it's not about us, it's about helping people. And if you're really focused on helping people, you're going to be more conscientious about where they are and when they are available than what our schedule is. And that's one thing I'm so proud of our team regarding. I mean, when you're talking about going to a church on a Wednesday night and having a workforce event, that's where the rubber meets the road in rural Alabama. So here's some of the stats. You can see we have over 24,000 now job seekers that we're working with in our Career Connect system. Our team has sent out over 309,000 text messages. So that's how we communicate with people. It's over 200 companies now that are engaged in what we're doing. So just some numbers there. And I know numbers aren't the most important, but if you don't have numbers, you don't have jobs and you don't have people to fill those jobs. So it's really about getting as many people involved and engaged as possible. But even during all of the COVID, what's been taking place, we've had 3,000 new job seekers enter into the workforce market in this past year, and that's really what it's about. 2,743 to be exact in 2022, and it's the year's not even over yet. All right, now we want to transition from our career pathways over to really what's our bread and butter. It's how do we place people? How do we move people from an adult job seeker position to a person that's gotten trained and they're now in the workforce? And the way that starts is really through our Bedrock system. It's a proprietary system that we developed with a partnership out of a company in California that's called Career Connect. And so Career Connect really is a repository of all of our job seekers. There's over 21 to 24,000 individuals that are in our system that our navigators are working with as we speak. And then that system ties to our Job Connect system. So those individuals that are in our system then can see the jobs and connect to those jobs. And then we have a one-to-one relationship with every one of the companies that are posting jobs so that we get feedback on who they've hired, where they are in the process, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But it's really about how we use this to actually navigate individuals, and also how we use our systems and technologies to actually work with us when we're reaching out to people, when we're doing our outreach events, and then also our virtual outreach events. So we'll share with you in just a few minutes about that. But as you can see on the next slide, this is really what our system's all about. It's more like a case management for workforce development. It has all of the normal data that you would see on Monster or what have you about those individuals, and then communicate that information over to our companies. But it also has interest. If you'll notice over to the right, all of our career clusters are there as well. So if they're interested in different types of jobs, if they have some skill sets that might translate to other job opportunities, all of that is in our Career Connect system. That way we can case manage folks through, or what we call navigate people from one point to the other, whether it's from the entry point to training, education, to job skills, to employment. And so that's what we have, a full-time staff that actually works to navigate individuals behind the scenes through this technology. So how does people get into Career Connect? Well, one of them is through our kiosks. So as you see in the picture there, we have kiosks. This is the same company that builds the Delta terminals that when you check in at the airport. These are highly mobile, but they're also very substantial kiosks that are in our public libraries. They're in our DHR offices. They're in our courthouses. And the list keeps going on about where we're connecting with people. And this is an example of how we're doing that. So you have the connectivity of location that people can go to. For example, in our rural counties, you can connect via email. You can connect via our website, and all of the kiosk is actually operated off of a website called westalabamajobs.com. So you can go to that website. We do outreach events where everybody puts their information in through their cell phones. So it's really about connecting people and using our system, and our system is very versatile in how it does this. This is an example of how a job is posted. So if you're in our system, you can see the jobs. You can view that job, you can do searches, but then most importantly, when you see a job that you are interested in and qualify for, you just hit apply now and you're automatically applied to that job because all of your information is already in our system, and it pulls all of your information that employer needs for that job application and fills that in automatically and sends it to that employer. But the back-end system is what is so important too. So every one of our employers has this employer portal, so they can go into our system and actually see how many applicants they have. They can view those applicants, and then what they do is they relate where each one of those applicants are to us in that process. For example, here, the young lady that's listed at the top, you can see that they've requested more information. The next one is they're not interested in that person. The other problem that we have with so many workforce systems is once a business or an employer says that they're not interested, what are we doing with those individuals? What our navigators do is if somebody's not interested, they start moving that individual straight on to the next opportunity. And so it's about that constant flow of our processes. We never want anybody to stagnate in our system. So it's not about sitting still, because that's when you start growing moss. And that's what we don't want people to do in our workforce model. We want everybody to turn over, go into our system, and have some type of opportunity or some type of communication or navigation within the first 24 hours. So the other thing that we're doing constantly is communicating with individuals on text. So as soon as they go in our system, we begin to work with those individuals, and you'll see some of our numbers in how many text communications we have in just a few minutes. But it's about meeting people. Job seekers don't communicate using email, and they don't communicate using phone calls. How many times do you get a phone number that you don't answer the phone because it might be spam? We don't do that. We use text messages, and that's how we communicate with the majority of our job seekers, because that's how they communicate, and that's what it's all about. The other thing our systems allow us to do is actually meet the needs of industry. We don't actually ask our industries to do all the work. We do a lot of that for them. Here's an example of how our system works. This company, Lear Corporation, actually tells us how many interviewers they're going to have, what the times that they're going to be doing that. And as you can see, we set up all the interviews and we have all of that set up. All they do is show up at one of our centers with their 3 employees, and they start interviewing. Every 15 to 20 minutes, they have a person that actually is scheduled to interview with them. So it's really about meeting the needs. So here's just a few numbers. So when you look at the 20,000 plus people that we have in our system, it's over 200 companies now. That is that, one-to-one relationship that they're communicating with us where everybody is in their hiring process and vice versa. Over 300,000 text messages, new people into the workforce that our different processes have actually allowed. So a lot of incredible numbers that are coming out of our data. But how do we get people into our system? You saw the kiosk. The other way that we connect with people is our community outreach events. So we are going into the highways and byways of our region, whether it's in our rural or metro areas, and we're actually having events, not when it's convenient to us, but when it's convenient to the job seeker. So we're on a Saturday morning doing it at a IGA or a community center. We're in the evenings at a school. We do a lot of our events in our elementary schools for the parents. We're at a church on a Wednesday night doing outreach events. So it's about people, and it's not about us as an organization. Not when we're, during 8 to 5, but it's when people are looking for jobs is when we're doing these events. We're also going into all of our communities. It doesn't matter the size or the scope. It's about being present, being in every single community. So many of our rural communities don't participate because they don't feel a part. And so we are there in the communities doing outreach events, doing meetings with their elected officials, with their pastors, and engaging with what we call gatekeepers in every one of the communities that we serve. Other things that we've launched when it comes to adult placements is a partnership with Just Trust and our Second Chance program. We have a new program with our DA's office where basically, to put it in simple terms, is individuals are sentenced. They actually plead guilty to their felony charge, and through that, they're sentenced to this process of the Second Chance program. And so they're put into pre-employment training, or what we call Ready to Work is the name of our program. That's done by our community college system, our partners at Shelton State Community College. And then through that, they go through their drug and rehabilitation programs at Indian Rivers, which is another partner of ours across the street. And then they're handed off to us to help find them jobs, good paying jobs. If we're going to change the recidivism rate in our prisons and in our Second Chance programs, and then also for those that are have a checkered past in our society that's there already. We have got to start meeting their needs and helping them get in a good paying job. So that's what this all is all about. We have over 200 plus that are in this program right now at Second Chance. And this is the most incredible part, is over 90% of them are paying their restitution payments. So that means that they're all in good paying jobs, or they wouldn't be able to pay that. So that is a part of this new idea of Second Chance, is get them into a job, not just get them rehabilitated. And so through that, we're seeing great success in taking a workforce model to a Second Chance program and developing a business-led partnership with industry and our DA's office. And so after they finish the program, they actually have their sentence removed from their record, and they no longer have a felony. And so we spend so much of our time trying to check the box when we really should just be trying to help people and get them in jobs and get their sentence expunged completely. And so also, if you look at the process that we're looking at with our students with Ignite, if we can get them into a job before they ever get out of high school and actually into trouble, if that's an area of the community that they're in, that's the best place to be. As we're looking at these programs, we really need to focus on getting kids, getting our citizens involved and engaged in work. And therefore, that will help us with our recidivism rates. It will help us with our incarceration rates, with our crime rates. So workforce has an integral part in all facets of the community. And so that's why workforce development professionals need to really understand the totality of everything that's going on in your community, because you can have an impact on it. Other things that we do is our virtual Ready to Work classes, where people that are in part-time jobs and in jobs that aren't making as much as they would like to, a lot of times they can't participate in programs. So creating these opportunities for individuals that are working to be able to participate in these programs is very important as well. But moving into the customer, what do we do that's different with our employers? And this slide really shows the picture of how we work with our companies. We have a program, well, it's really called our strategy program. So instead of being a resource for companies to see all of the different programs that are available, what we do is we bring the companies together with all of these agencies at one time to build a strategic plan for every single company that we work with and strategize what is the best resources that every company or every provider has to meet the needs of that company, not in silos, but all together. And then our project managers actually builds the plan based on what all the partners say. And then their job is to make sure that everyone is in sync and that everyone is doing what they're supposed to do. Not only the provider, but also the company as well. So give you a prime example is we'll come into these meetings and there might be, they don't have a training room. So Shelton State Community College or one of our colleges might be doing the training, but they use an AIDT trailer to do that. And then AIDT might use our center to actually do their pre-employment training. So what we do is we maximize and braid all of our resources to meet the needs of that company. And that does single us out from a lot of workforce systems. Yes, they do a good job of telling companies what everybody does, but one of the things that we do is we actually build the plan with all of the partners at one time so that everybody hears what everybody else is doing and everybody builds off of the same information at the same time and builds one plan. And so the company knows specifically not who's doing it, but what is being done and why we're doing it. And so that really has helped us be much more impactful for meeting the needs of those companies. Other things is our grant processes. So we actually don't ask the company to write the grants. Our team writes it for them. And you can see here this year and since July 2021, we've had over 1,400 participants in this one grant and brought over $1.3 million to the companies that you see listed there. It's about meeting the needs of those companies and actually fulfilling the needs, but it's how you communicate it. So what we do is, instead of focusing on the company telling us everything that they need, a lot of times they don't understand what they really need. So we try to communicate it in a way that says, here's all of the things that we're doing right now. For example, here's a slide that shows a lot of our training. What we say to the company is, do you need any of the training? Circle any of those that you need. And they go, my gosh, I didn't know that y'all did PLC Siemens. So they don't know what to ask. So why would we assume that communication style is going to work and give us results? So the communication style is to more or less make it easier and make it a check or circle what you need and let us meet that need, because sometimes they don't even know all of the different opportunities that they have to take advantage of. So don't just try to listen to what they're saying and let them tell you what their needs are. They might not even know what all of their needs are, but you communicating in this way of showing them what all of the opportunities are might help them see what their needs are as well. The other things is all of our different partners, communicating that, letting individuals know. So we work very closely with the state, with our workforce training centers, with our robotics parks, and with our Alabama Technology Network, the team through the community college system doing specialized training. The other thing that we really focus on is on-the-job training and using our WIOA dollars to braid resources for our individuals. So we are not only the Regional Workforce Council, we're also the Regional Workforce Board. So that allows us to be very agile in delivering services when it comes to our incumbent workers, our youth programs, our on-the-job training, work-based learning, and our federal bonding programs. Give you a prime example. We talked about our Second Chance program and some of the things that we're doing with those with a checkered past, with a felony. We can actually use our braided funds. If a company takes a chance on one of those individuals, we can bond that company for 6 months and bond that employee for that company. So if anything happens during that time period that they're taking a chance on this program for that employee, we'll actually bond them and ensure that if something is stolen, if something is broken, that it'll be paid for. So that is a great example of how we use these programs to meet the needs of all of our industries that are engaged and involved in our workforce system. So here's another example of some of the programs and the training that we have through the Innovation Center with our community college system. We also have a great partnership with AIDT, which is the incentive training arm of the state of Alabama. So we have a specific process. As you can see, everything's about a process. Everything's about a strategy, and how that strategy works with AIDT has been phenomenal for us, and hopefully for AIDT as well, is we're able to actually do a lot of the recruiting for them and then pre-employment training and meeting the needs of the companies. So it really helps us develop great partnerships between the state, the local regional boards, and West Alabama Works, and what we're doing to meet the needs of industry. So talking about some of the key issues that we have, childcare, transportation, and coming up with innovative programs that meet those needs. For example, in the transportation sector is developing those rideshare programs, using technology and bridging communication, using technology between the public transportation system and our rideshare programs and commuters. So how are we using that and developing new public transportation models that actually move during job placement or job times? For example, shift changes, high impact times in our hospitality industries on Thursday nights, on Saturdays, those kind of things. So it's really about communication. Transportation is that key barrier, so we've got to meet the needs of that. One of the other areas is childcare. What are we doing there? In Tuscaloosa County alone, there is a shortage of 6,000 to 8,000 daycare slots that we're hearing from our community college and some of the studies. So we have 6,000 openings where parents can't find childcare for their kids. So what are we doing? We're actually working with the University of Alabama, with Shelton State, with some of our other partners to actually help people create in-home daycares. Now, what does that mean? Well, it's about listening to what the job seeker is needing. Most blue-collar workers want childcare near their home. Most white-collar workers want their childcare near their business. So who usually works on this issue? It's usually white-collar workers, and they spend most of their time looking for daycare close to where they work, when we need more in-home daycares close to where people live. And so now what we're doing is we're actually working with our team to actually create entrepreneur training for in-home daycare and actually strategies for paying for DHR to come in and help set up those daycares and get them up and running, and then using our outreach events to place children in there. So if a person is interested in starting a daycare, we'll help you set it up. We'll help you get your house ready for everything, and we'll actually put all of the kids in your business. So all you have to do is worry about running that business and taking care of kids. And so that then is taking care of those families, which then they can get back into the workforce, which will increase our participation rate. That's just an example of the work that we're doing in that space. So also, how do we get out in the communities? We have 2 additional workforce centers that is in our rural counties, one in Demopolis that you can see here and one in Brookwood, which are 2 rural areas. And they're very welcoming where people can come in. They can actually be trained. We do a lot of pre-employment training with our companies in these centers. So it's about meeting the needs and opening up assets in our community to help individuals. And so through that, you can see a lot of the accolades from ACT, a lot of other national organizations that really have showcased a lot of the work that's been going on in West Alabama. Here in the closing slides is quotes from different companies and how we've really helped them be successful, and how we've helped them with their workforce challenges and the difference that we've made and the partnerships that we have. But in closing, it's also about our team. It's about not only the West Alabama Works team and the professional staff, but it's also the family of workforce development that we have built together. Developing relationships is key to an effective strategy in workforce development. What we focus on when it comes to partnerships is, there's 2 types of partnerships. One is more like a dating relationship where it's whatever you can get out of that person, are they meeting my need or whatever, or a real marriage where it doesn't matter if I'm getting anything out of it. I want that person to be successful. I want them to be engaged, and I want what's best for that person. And that's kind of how our family of workforce development and our partnerships are built. It doesn't matter if I get anything out of it. It matters that people are impacted and that we're making a difference. And that's what I want to leave you with is, if everything that you do is about impacting people and making a difference, you can move the needle in workforce development. All of us have our own challenges. All of us have different types of challenges in our communities. But what is constant is there are people that are in need, and there are industries that need people. And if you keep the main thing, you can actually change your community and do things that you never thought you could do. Thank you for joining us for our orientation video. We hope that it has been a help to you and your community to see some of the great things that are happening in West Alabama, how our partners work together in our program of work. But most of all, we want to make sure that if you have any additional questions, that you please reach out to us at our website at westalabamaworks.com. Thank you and have a great day. Thank you for watching our 2-part orientation on West Alabama Works. We hope this has been something that has helped your community to really understand what we do at West Alabama Works and the impact that your community can have on workforce development. If you do have any questions, or if we can help you in the future, please reach out to us at our website at westalabamaworks.com. Thank you and hope you have a great day.